This week on Another Movie Podcast, we continue the discussion of Avengers Infinity War and what exactly did it do this week.
We talk about all the new trailers that have dropped. Some look amazing, some are a little bit meh.
And has Todd McFarlane finally found his new Spawn?
Ooh, his child?
No, not his child. That's my evil Spawn children. Welcome back to Another Movie Podcast. I am Shaun Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And what a massive week it has been this week. Last week we spoke about the arrival of the Avengers Infinity War. And this week we're going to talk about what impact did it have at the box office, what impact did it have in our lives, and what impact does it have for the whole MCU going forward from here. We had to talk about so much last week that we didn't really get to talk about the ramifications or what happens next. So we'll probably do that at the end of this show so we don't spoil anything for you. But how has your week been, mate?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We're just waiting for my child to be born. He's now literally a week overdue, so my wife is very much over it.
So we could have a emergency during this podcast.
We could. I might have to leave early.
I shouldn't say emergency. We should have a surprise.
Exactly right. Well, you know, if something like that, labor takes a long time, okay? So we could probably just, keep it going.
So if I hear a crying in the background, you've missed the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. I have to say, though, just quickly, on this whole Justice League bizzo, on this whole Avengers bizzo, it's weird to feel proud for something that you had absolutely no hand in.
Well, I was thinking this week how much I would just love to give the Russo brothers a hug right now.
Yeah.
And if I could bear children, I'd bear their children for them. That's how much I love these two men.
Yeah, I can see that, because it's not only the fact that they've made an amazing film, they just seem like pretty decent guys.
Yeah. Well, they're actually doing a Village at the moment is offering here in Australia. They've got a screening of Avengers Infinity War, but at the start of it, there's a half an hour live stream Q&A with the Russo brothers.
Oh, cool.
So, a select few audience members can actually ask them questions.
Yeah.
So it's quite tempting to go to, because as I said, I find these two quite fascinating, especially what they've been able to do and what their background was. Like, they've come from TV comedy backgrounds, and they've given us so far The Winter Soldier, which was unbelievable, Civil War, which was incredible, and now this one is, anything. I don't have a word to explain it. So that's just the hot streak that these guys are on. But I've just got this feeling in the bottom of my stomach that this movie was so damn good. How the hell can you live up to it in the next one? I don't know how good the fourth Avengers film could possibly be, considering the hot streak these guys are on. Could they go 4 for 4? I don't know.
Well, we'll talk about that at the end of the film. There's a lot of speculation and some new news as far as the fourth Avengers is concerned.
Yes. All right, well, let's kick into the movie news, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
All right, as we said at the top of the show, actually, we'll speak about the trailers that dropped this week. There were 3 main ones. The first one we'll talk about is Ant-Man and Wasp. Now, I got to say, after the emotional slugfest that we just went through with Avengers Infinity War, this film looks a hell of a lot of fun to me.
It really does.
A complete opposite to what we've just seen.
I was one of the few people who actually enjoyed Ant-Man. I know it's kind of dumb and some of the stuff doesn't make sense.
It was awesome.
Oh, that's good. I just see a lot of stuff posted about it online. Not too many people impressed, but yeah, I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I love Paul Rudd. In fact, the whole cast is really good. And this film looks like they've taken what's good about the first one and have doubled down. So that makes me happy.
Yes. And the inclusion of Wasp, she looks so badass as well. So, as I said, it looks like a complete change of where we're at with the current state of the MCU. So, as I said, obviously, this film would have to take place before the events of Infinity War. And I'm guessing, there's going to be teasers towards the end of the film, that possibly link into the start of Avengers Infinity War. I'm not sure. I would assume the same with Captain Marvel. I would say we get the 90s film that they've promised. And then at the end of the movie or at the end credit stinger.
Wow, what an ending! Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Which is kind of spoiler. Just thinking about it. So I apologize if you haven't seen it.
I might edit that bit out, and I might like leave a big like beep there so they know that you tried to spoil something.
Yeah, I've just thrown in an accidental spoiler. It's funny because as I was sailing, I'm like, hang on a second, I've just spoiled the entrance.
I can hear you like slowly slow down in your talking. You're like Mark Ruffalo. He's always spoiling stuff. You're our Mark Ruffalo.
And it's funny, I don't know if you follow the stories during the week. A year ago, Mark Ruffalo...
I did.
Talking about spoilers, and he goes,
Thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
Everyone thought it was a joke, and it was actually real.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional. I don't even know if he knew what the actual plot was going to be, because apparently they gave everyone fake scripts and they shot fake scenes. So the cast didn't even know what the ending was. So I don't know. So it could be one of the funniest jokes of all time, or it could just be that he guessed the ending of the film.
I think he was told, because he's been like such a mainstay, and he just let slip. And I think he was definitely not told anything else after that forever. He doesn't even know what character he's playing in the next movie.
And the fact that he did a live stream while his phone was in his pocket at the premiere of Thor Ragnarok, so that was quite funny as well.
I've been watching, just because to get the fix, because I haven't been able to get out to the cinema again, I've been watching like everything on YouTube of these actors being interviewed this week, and a question always comes up like, who's the biggest leak? And it's always harping on Mark Ruffalo. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
anyway...
I kind of feel like Mark Ruffalo at the moment.
Yeah. Kind of look like him. Anyway,
Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp
It's
looks
thumbs
good.
up for me. I'm really excited to see it. Yeah. All right, the second one on the list, going on the superhero theme, was the Teen Titans Go movie trailer. Now, my kids love the Teen Titans Go. It's on constantly at my house. And I kind of keep an eye on it every now and then, and it does have this fun vibe to it. But I got to say, this film looks like a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the show I like. It's so irreverent, but even I thought when I was watching the show, I'm like, they don't really do much superhero stuff. And this trailer calls that out perfectly. So that looks like what the whole movie is about.
Yeah, and it's good because we get to see other characters from the Justice League, and Nicolas Cage finally gets to play his Superman.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he voices Superman, so he finally gets to don the cape in a animated way.
If you haven't watched Teen Titans and you've got no interest because it looks like a kid's cartoon, go and watch this trailer and you might surprise yourself because it looks friggin' hilarious. It's basically like animated Deadpool, but with the Teen Titans, because they're always breaking the fourth wall. They're referencing things that are going on in the world, but not in a kind of ham-fisted way. It's really cool.
And there's no swearing or R-rated material.
Exactly right. Well, we haven't seen the movie yet. Who knows?
It is safe for kids. So, it's definitely on my to-watch list. Both of my sons are quite excited to see it, so no doubt I'll be watching that when it hits cinemas here in Australia.
You know what I just realised? We just spoiled the Infinity War twice before because we talked about how Mark Ruffalo spoiled the ending. I'll go back and bleep that out as well. So when you hear two bleeps, guys, you know what it's from.
That's true, actually. I didn't think of that.
We're the best. We're basically professional podcasters. Anyway.
Well, has a week been long enough in spoilers?
I think for this film, I think we should just play it safe.
Well, there's a lot of Facebook pages that I'm attached to, and they're actually giving a whole month where no one's allowed to talk about it. So, that gives people plenty of time to watch it.
All right. Well, let's move on before anyone notices our terrible track record.
All right, we've had 2 good trailers this week, and then this third one landed. And I got to say, if studios didn't learn their lessons from King Arthur the last year, this film looks like a carbon copy of it with a crossover from TV's Arrow, and that is the new Robin Hood trailer.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about how a movie can look really expensive, and really cheap at exactly the same time, because... Yeah. I don't know what it is, the cinematography or the way it's shot, but everything looks like it's a theatre production. But clearly a lot of money has been sunk into this film.
Yeah, and I've got to say, as I said, I was watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is basically King Arthur with the Green Arrow in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's exactly how it looked to me. And it's a shame because it's got a really decent cast, but I just got this feeling this is going to be another box office flop.
I think the only thing that will help this along, I don't think it takes itself as seriously as King Arthur did.
Yeah.
So it looks like a little bit more of a romp. So I think if you're a younger person, this might be right up your alley. Whereas King Arthur didn't really have a audience.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this might be a little bit stronger than King Arthur's showing, but still, yeah, it looks pretty average overall. The action already looked very dated, like doing spinning in the air, firing arrows. It just looks a bit silly.
Yeah.
And they've basically they've basically taken the original. I shouldn't say the original. Kevin Costner's story, and added in. Oh gosh, I can't even think of what it was going to be now. Anyway, some other story. I can't remember what it is. But imagine I said something really telling and poignant right now. That's the other one they've linked to.
Okay, maybe we can beat that section.
Yeah, might beat that. That was an Avengers Infinity War spoiler, guys. If that was beefed, there was. I can't remember. It was really insightful. Now I can't remember what it was. Oh, Zorro. It's basically Zorro and Kevin Costner's Robin Hood.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's a fair call. And as I said, it's got a really good cast. It's got Taron Egerton from The Kingsman.
Who's great.
And also, too, he's actually going to be playing Elton John in his new biopic, and he's going to be singing his own songs, which is cool. It's got Ben Mendelsohn as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes.
It's got James Fox as Little John. So, it's got some decent names behind it, but as I said, it just does not look good at all. So
No, exactly right.
I'll be waiting to see the reviews before I even think about watching that one.
Cool.
All right, well, as we said at the top of the show, Avengers Infinity War has been massive this week, and it has broken all types of box office records. And we're just going to name a few, just the top of the list. So basically, it had the biggest domestic opening of all time in the US. Star Wars Force Awakens held the title at $248 million. This one added $10 million on top of that, $258 million. So there was a great poster of a hand with a lightsaber handing on to Iron Man's hand. I thought that was really cool.
I just love that it's Disney just passing the torch between each other.
Exactly. Like there's this awesome animation going around where they've put Mickey Mouse's head on Thanos' body. And he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's adding like Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel, and those are basically Infinity Stones. And then the last one he adds is DC. So that's the last Infinity Stone for Mickey Mouse and the Disney company to add to their repertoire. Other than that, they would have pretty much everything.
Have a listen to this though, just before we move on. This idea of having images to pass the biggest openings of all time between each other has been going on for a while. But so see if you can pick up a pattern. So first it was Star Wars beating out Jaws, and then it was E.T. beating out Star Wars, and then it was the next Star Wars beating out E.T., then it was Titanic beating out Star Wars, then Jurassic Park, then Star Wars again, and now this. So what are some of the common threads we've got there?
Well, we basically got Spielberg handing it off to Lucas, Lucas handing it off to Spielberg, Spielberg handing it off to Lucas, then to James Cameron, and then to George Lucas again.
Yeah, exactly right. So, look, you can't argue, regardless of what you think of Lucas, you can't argue that he is not part of the Parthenon of cinematic history makers.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
All right. It went on to have the biggest worldwide opening of all time. It had 382 million overseas, not part of the US market, which had a global, including the US, of 640, which beat the previous record held by the Fate of the Furious.
Which I still find amazing.
541. I agree. It's still fucking flabbergasted. So it beat that by, nearly $100 million. And, of course, it basically took the biggest superhero opening of all time, beating the first Avengers film with $207 million.
It killed it. My favourite stat here, though, is one that we talked about earlier in the week, that this has already made more than the Justice League made in its entire run. Already.
I know. As I said, the people at Warner Brothers just need to be looking at it and like, what the fuck are we doing so wrong? I wouldn't be surprised if they throw the kitchen sink at the Russo brothers to try and get them involved.
Yeah, they could.
I tried to get Josh Whedon. That didn't work. It wouldn't surprise me if they try and got him in board as well.
Yeah, I think if you can't beat them, buy them.
Poach them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, it sits now at $904 million. So it's going to gross $1 billion this weekend. They're saying it's going to be $100 million plus in its second week, which is huge. Yeah. Excuse me. It's going to be the fastest film to ever gross $1 billion. Has it got the legs to get $2.8 million, which is what's needed to beat Avatar? I don't know. it still flabbergasts me that it made $2.7 billion Avatar. As I said, that's how much James Cameron changed the game. The film necessarily wasn't worth $2.7 billion, but the 3D technology that got people into the cinema to watch it was incredible. So, kudos to him. All right, well, these are some of the films that it has already passed at the box office. So basically, as Shaun said, it's already passed the Justice League. It's already passed Captain America Winter Soldier, which made 714. It's already passed Amazing Spider-Man 2 at 709, Doctor Strange, Man of Steel, and Thor: The Dark World. Now, to do that in its first week, beat all those films in their whole entire run at the box office is incredible.
They just must be having the biggest party.
Yeah,
it's at Disney at the moment.
Well, the Russo brothers are probably hard at work trying to finish this next film within the next year. So
that's a good point.
I think it's officially we're under the 1 year mark for when the next one comes out.
Yes, that's exciting.
Yeah. And it's funny because they still won't reveal the title of the next film, even though we're a week later. Feige's already come out and said it's definitely not called Avengers: Infinity Gauntlet. So you can rule that one out.
Well, I think that's a smart. I wouldn't, if I was them. You want this movie to have as much legs as possible, and then when the hype is dying down on this one, then you land the next one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're stepping on your own toes if you release it now.
Yes. All right. Well, there's other stories that we want to talk about, but we won't talk about them, even though we have spoiled the film twice already. The writers have come out and spoke about the ending. The directors have come out and spoke about the ending, and an actor has come out and spoken about the ending as well. But we won't talk about till the end of the film. We'll give you guys a chance.
End of the podcast, yeah.
Sorry, podcast. Give you guys a chance who haven't seen it to go out and see it, and then come back and listen.
Cool.
All right, well, over at the DCEU, they showed some unfinished footage of Aquaman that's coming out later this year in December. I'm guessing we're going to see this footage at around Comic-Con time. But Jason Momoa has come out and basically said what the difference is between his film and the Justice League film. And he basically said the Justice League was like college. I'm not really sure what Aquaman was. But it was just all on my shoulders. I had a great time. I think Justice League, you had 5 other characters around, suffering from equality at the same time, not having enough time for their own in that film. So with this solo film, it was challenging, tough, hard, but super satisfying.
There's nothing in that quote, though, that really tells me to be excited about this Aquaman movie. He's basically saying, yeah, we suffered as a team on Justice League, and now I get to suffer alone. And that was, its own kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jason Momoa. Maybe you need to get some lessons on how to hype a film.
Yeah, but in saying that too, they also gave some descriptions of some of the footage that was told, and they said that basically Atlantis looks like Los Angeles from Blade Runner, but underwater. So that sounds pretty cool.
That does sound really cool. How good would it be, though, if they had that in their mind when they made Justice League so we could have seen some of it?
That's true.
That would have been good.
They also said the scale of this film is a lot bigger than anything we've seen in the DC universe combined so far, and it has a real sprawling adventure tone.
See, I like that. That sounds cool. Like if it's Aquaman meets like Indiana Jones or something, that's kind of cool. Like the classic adventure film.
Realistically, though, we're 7 months away from this film and still haven't seen anything. So
yeah,
they're keeping a lot under their hat at the moment, which is good because, as we've spoken previously, we don't need to see a lot. We're probably going to go see it anyway. They've already got our cash, so you don't need to throw everything at us, but just give us a little tease, maybe a little nip. That's all we're asking for.
Probably during Avengers Infinity War opening weekend or month, you probably don't want to show anything from any other comic book movie.
Possibly.
Yeah.
All right, well, over at DC as well, they've basically just launched their own streaming service. Well, they're going to launch their own streaming service. It's basically called the DC Universe, and the big title they've attached to their streaming service is a live-action series of The Swamp Thing.
Which is really interesting and could be really awesome.
Well, James Wan is set to executive produce the series, and it's looking at next year to debut. But, is Swamp Thing really a story that's going to make you subscribe to this DC Universe streaming?
Well, no, but that's just one of other titles.
Yeah.
I think a Swamp Thing series could be really interesting and fitting. This episodic, dark, different. Like nobody's doing a Swamp Thing type at the moment. We've had plenty of Arrows and Daredevils and things like that, but no real Swamp Things.
Well, the thing is that, as you said, I think that would have to go dark. I think if they kept this light tone, if they kept this, TV friendly, then I think it'll just be another turd. But if they, put a hard edge to it, considering it doesn't have to air on American network TV, it's going to be just streaming. It could have some real merit behind it.
Yeah, I agree. Like think Toxic Avenger meets Twin Peaks or something. Like that could be really cool.
That would be really cool. And some of the other shows they're adding to their streaming service is a live-action Teen Titans TV show, which has already been in the works. And I could have sworn that was supposed to be on one of the network TV stations over there, but clearly they've changed their mind. And they're also adding 2 animated titles, Young Justice, The Outsiders, and a Harley Quinn animated TV show.
Of course they are. That's their bank at the moment.
You're like, of course.
Yeah. Did you see the images for the live-action Teen Titans series?
Yeah, I have seen some of the pictures.
Yeah.
Not exactly thrilling.
No.
Yeah. Could be a turd, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. All right, well, over at Fox, we've got Deadpool coming out in 2 weeks' time, I think. So Avengers has got, 2 weeks to wrap up as much cast as it possibly can, because on the way we've got Deadpool followed by Solo, I think, not long after that. So they're both, target to open at 150 plus US in the so they want to cash in as much as possible. But Ryan Reynolds confirmed there is one name that won't be returning for the X-Force films or any future Deadpool films, and that is actor TJ Miller.
Yeah, which is, this guy is doing the best job I've ever seen of destroying his own career.
Yeah. He was on a TV show called Silicon Valley, and if you haven't seen this show, go out and watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. And he was a big part of this show, and they've also done the same thing. They basically kicked him out. They were sick of his bullshit, and basically he thought the show needed him, but clearly the show thought they don't need him.
Yeah.
So he's been rocked by sexual assault claims, and then last month, I think he was arrested for calling in a bomb threat. So this guy's got serious issues, obviously, but everyone is jumping off the TJ Miller bandwagon at the moment.
And it's a shame because, as you said, he's pretty talented, but you've in these days, there's a lot of talented people going around. It's not enough. You've also got to be able to be a team player.
Yeah. And it wasn't bad enough. Like last year, he was the voice in the Emoji Movie as well. So I think it's been a downhill spiral.
That's really what did it. I just can't wait. I really hope they just recast Weasel and nobody notices except Deadpool. This guy on Reddit was talking about this, and I'm like, that is the most hilarious thing that I can think of for the replacement of this character. Just bring in completely, make it, bring in Jamie Foxx or something like that, and just a completely different person, and nobody notices he's a different person except for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. And in something like Deadpool, they can actually pull that off.
Exactly, that would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious because they already break the fourth wall. It doesn't matter what happens in that show, so they could easily do that.
And then,
well, speaking of Jamie Foxx,
sorry. No, go for it.
You just ruined my perfect segue.
All right, I'll give you space again.
Yeah.
So Jamie Foxx.
Speaking of Jamie Foxx, as we said at the top of the show, Todd McFarlane, 5 years ago, Jamie Foxx was actually aggressively pursuing the role of the anti-hero Spawn.
He wanted to release his inner anti-hero, a la Venom.
I love Venom, yes.
Worse.
They were talking about making a Spawn film a while ago, and he was actually pursuing it. But then I think he won an Oscar in that time, and I think maybe the urge to play Spawn, even though he's done jack shit since. But now they are actively pursuing Jamie Foxx, and the Fox have offered the part of Spawn to Jamie Foxx, which would be pretty damn cool, because I reckon he is definitely a talented actor.
Yeah.
And it's funny how winning an Oscar doesn't actually set your career alight, because I don't think he's done really much since. So to see him do something like this would be really cool.
I think so. I don't necessarily think it's like an up and up trajectory for him. Is he a fan of the character if he was wanting to do it a few years ago, or?
I would say so, according to this article. He is.
Oh, okay, beautiful. Because that makes a lot of sense. I was worried he was going to pull a Sean Connery and just be like, superheroes are big at the moment. I'll just do his superhero thing and then do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
But the thing is that apparently the role or the character Spawn is basically only a co-star in this film.
Yeah.
The film's main role will be Detective Twitch Williams, who will team up with Spawn to track down and bring violent justice to those men responsible for kidnapping and murdering his daughter.
Yeah, which I think is the right way to play a Spawn film.
I'd be disappointed if the clown doesn't show up, though. I reckon the clown is probably one of the best parts of Spawn.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see him turn up.
I assume that will be the villain, surely. Like,
you would think so, but then again, you know, is the clown responsible for killing and murdering this daughter? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, we'll find out.
Yes. All right. Well, that's basically the end of the spoiler-filled news. So maybe we'll talk about some of the stuff that we have seen, and I know I've seen a few things that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet. One of them is this fantastic film. It came out, I think, about a month ago, and it's called A Quiet Place. This film basically changed the game for horror/thrillers. It set up this simple premise, but the premise itself, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole film. And I got to say, I haven't seen anything quite like this. The guy who directed it, John Krasinski, who's also in the star of it, you know, he was basically just the funny man of The Office, and he's able to turn in this film, which I guarantee you will spawn, you know, possibly a trilogy or even like a Saw-esque chapter by chapter film series, because there's so much they can do in this world, and the premise that they've set up, you know, can relay into film after film after film.
Yeah, whether they're going to go that route, I don't know, but it's getting a lot of positive critical reception.
Yeah, it is, and the less you know about this film, the better. I didn't know a lot going into it. I only saw one trailer, and within the first 5 minutes, you're just like, holy shit, this film is really going for it. You know, they're not basically padding the edges. They're going full force. So definitely give that a watch if you have a chance.
And if you can, try and see it during the day, because there'll be fewer people in the cinema.
Yes, well, this is true. Well, it's at the end of its run, so you think you might have the
cinema to yourself.
Thing to itself.
Which would be, actually, I want to go and see it in the cinema by myself. I think that would be an amazing experience.
Yes, and the other one that we touched upon last week, and it's been out for a while now, and I think it may have even finished its cinematic run, and that was Ready Player One. This film is a gamer/pop culture nerd/movie nerd's wet dream. There is so much going on in this film that you have to watch it more than once, because not only are you watching the foreground, but you're watching the background, because there's so many Easter eggs, there's so many cameos, there's so many characters from so many different arcs of the pop culture world that are thrown into this movie. Along with the movie itself is brilliant. The book is absolutely brilliant. Give that a read as well after you watch the film, because the amount of detail that the book goes into, they can't fit into this movie. So that was probably my only negative on it. But if you go in there completely fresh, I guarantee you're going to enjoy this ride that this film goes on.
Awesome. That's one that's on my list I really want to check out.
Yes. And there's a TV show, just quickly. I know we don't talk about a lot of TV, but there's this series on Netflix. It's called Money Heist. It's this Spanish TV show. And if this isn't the best TV show I've seen in a very long time, and the most addictive TV show I've seen in a long time, I'll go heave. Basically, it's about this group of criminals who break into our version of the Mint over there in Spain to basically, what you think is to rob them. But how the show evolves and how the story basically is delivered to you is completely insane. So if you get a chance to, if you haven't got nothing to watch on Netflix, watch this film. As I said, it is Spanish, so it is subtitled, or you can have a really bad English audio track put on top of it. I actually suggest just reading the subtitles. You actually pick up a hell of a lot more of the story while reading. Give that one a watch as well.
All right, awesome.
Anything you've watched that you wanted to speak about?
No, I've just been watching schoolwork all week, which has been really unfortunate. And I could tell you about the essays I've been marking, but we would both die of boredom.
Okay. All right, well, that's the end of the show. We're going to talk about some spoiler-filled Infinity War stories now. So if you have seen the movie and you want to continue listening, please do so. If you have not seen the movie, even though we've already spoiled it twice, please go and watch the movie. As I said, you will not be disappointed. Come back and then listen to these other 3 stories. All right, you've been warned. All right, so basically, the Infinity War directors came out and spoke about that ending. Basically, the criticism behind that ending is that there wasn't really much in real stakes happening here. We've seen 2 of the characters, Spider-Man and Black Panther, get turned into dust, even though we know that they're getting their sequels in 2019 and 2020. So there's either chance of those 2 characters, you know, not returning in the next Infinity film. But the directors went on to say, Anthony Russo said, I will say this, there's a real commitment to the end of the stakes. Yes, this is a fantasy world, and yes, remarkable things can happen in this fantasy world, but, and then Joe jumps in and says, everything will come at an incredibly high cost. There's always going to be stakes, and the stakes have been progressing from film to film. I think you can extrapolate that, and that will continue to deepen in Avengers 4.
And I can look, even before those guys said that, I think what they said is very comforting, that, you know, there are stakes and things will change. Even before that, even if all the characters came back in the next film, which they're not, but even if they did, it's still real for the characters at this moment. And I think people...
Yes, that's right.
There are still stakes there. So I know some people walked out of the cinema a little bit deflated, understanding that. But I walked out and I thought, you know, this is their reality at the moment. So it is still a big thing.
I agree. And, you know, just thinking about what might come, like we spoke about last week, the possible chance that obviously the characters aren't dead and maybe they've gone to a parallel universe and they're living in that one. And as we said, it might take the sacrifice of the current Avengers to bring them back. We know already that Tony Stark is invested so much into Iron Man. You would think he would have some type of, you know, emotional attachment to him. And if he had the chance to bring him back, I think he would. And, you know, we can continue about each one as well. But I think those might be the stakes that they're talking about. There has to be some give to bring those back. I think, you know, there is going to be some sacrifice at the end of this film.
Actually, wouldn't it really be cool? Yeah, if as you said, they've gone to a parallel universe instead, and the next film is about these two parallel universes sort of coming into contact with each other. And, like, the people in the other parallel universe have no memory of this one. So, you know, Bucky was there, but he was just, you know, Bucky for the entire time, and Spider-Man, but he grew up in this, he believes he grew up in this universe. So it's kind of like a Crisis on Infinite Earths, I know it's DC, style crossover. And this other Earth has things like the Fantastic Four and the mutants and things like that. And then they end up, you know, merging into the one reality. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, as I said, we've got no idea what's going on.
No.
We spoke about last week, there are set photos of Captain America in his old Avengers suit from Avengers Part 1.
Yeah.
And it looks like they are reenacting the scene from the attack of New York. We've seen Chris Hemsworth with his long hair as well. So that would be so cool if he goes back there. As I said, that's one part I'm really excited for. But as I said, it's just all speculation at the moment. And if you go on Reddit, there's a sub-thread of people's theories. And you could literally spend 2 hours just reading all of them, because all of them have a lot of merit to them, and a lot of it you're like, "Ooh, that could work," and that would be cool. But this is the problem that Star Wars: The Last Jedi had. Is that when you read so many of the fan theories, and some of them are so good,
You're going to be disappointed.
You're going to be disappointed if none of them come true. So that's why I'm kind of holding off on all of this, and we've still got a whole year to go. So even though it is enjoyable, as I said, some of them will get your hopes up. And then, as I said with The Last Jedi, when you go and see the film and, you know, nothing is basically what those fan theories describe, you're kind of disappointed. So I think that's where it went wrong for The Last Jedi.
Yeah. I wonder if the Russo brothers are actually just, like, reading that thread going, which one of these is the most upvoted? Let's just do that.
Yeah. Well, you would think that all of this would have been planned out.
Yeah, they're not DC. Who are you kidding?
Exactly. So, and then the writers came out and talk about what basically happened as well.
Who don't get enough credit, can I just say? They've done a fantastic job.
Yes, I haven't got the Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely have written both of these scripts, and they're basically come out and saying, and even though they have to say this, is that many of the deaths in this film are actually real. Avengers 4 doesn't do what you think it will do. It's a different movie than you think also. The deaths are real. I just want to tell you it's real. The sooner you accept it and the sooner you're able to move on to the next stage of grief. We know we broke your heart, but now we're going to blow your mind.
There is at least one death, which we'll talk about in a minute, that I think is 100% legitimate and never going to change.
Yes.
Every other death, I think, like Loki, for example, even though he wasn't part of that final destruction, I think he's still up in the air. But I think some of the people who did flitter away will not come back.
Yeah. Well, one of the writers put it this way. He said, Infinity War is a fairly mature movie for a blockbuster film. It's got a lot of fun, but obviously it gets very mature at the end. The second one is also very mature. We're going on those choices and hopefully surprise and delight you and the time that you've invested into these films. So, as I said, in Feige we trust, in the Russo brothers we trust in this. We got to basically hope that after this massive investment we've given them, and a lot of cash that we've given them as well, that there will be a very good payoff at the end of this. We're going to finish this storyline, and then we're going to kick into the next phase of the MCU. Keep completely not forgetting this part, but we've gone on this journey, and we're going on another one after this film.
Now, just calculating. Now, I'm not really good at maths, but 20 times 20, which is about what we've been spending on. That's $400. I've spent on seeing that, and that's at least seeing them once. Many we've seen more than once.
No, I agree. As I said, they've made a hell of a lot of money doing this, and they deserve every cent because they've given exactly what we've wanted. But we do want to see some type of payoff at the end.
Exactly right.
We want to see some return on investment.
Exactly right.
Well, the character that you mentioned before, that we 100% I believe isn't coming back, and I hope she doesn't, to be honest, because I think it'll be a bit of a
cop-out.
A very big cop-out if she does. And that is Gamora's character. We spoke last week that Thanos has to sacrifice her to get the Soul Stone. And she basically, the actress who plays her is Zoe Saldana. She came out and said this week that she learned very early on that she was going to die in this film. The producers called and told me. She said there was a very big shock to the system. But she's also grateful that she's had this amazing run with the Guardians films and obviously with this film as well. She completely understood the choice and the circle of life that her character has with her stepfather Thanos, and she just loved being part of this unforgettable journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, and that says to me very much that she's not coming back.
Yeah, as I said, it would be a real cop-out if they do. If they're able to go back and reverse everything, then possibly she's survived.
Yeah.
But I think the going back and reversing everything is a cop-out as well.
Yeah, I have a feeling, I agree. I have a feeling we'll see her like as a memory or as a vision or something like that to give her a, sort of more of a send-off because it was very unceremonious the way that she ended up being killed. Nebula or something like that will have another final contact with her, maybe Nebula and Quill, but that'll be it.
Yeah, I agree. So, it's good that she was told early on, and as we said, if this just wraps up in a whole reverse of everything, it's kind of like those TV shows where everything was a dream or that type of cop-out ending. So I severely doubt they'll go for it. But
I will say it'll be very much like a comic if that happens, because how many times have these comic book characters died and just come back? So at least you could say they were sticking to the source material.
Yes, I agree. All right, well, that wraps up all the things that we needed to discuss this week. I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who downloaded and listened to last week's show. It was one of our highest rated show, and I was expecting it to be one of the lowest because we were expecting a lot of people just to go out and watch the movie before even listening to the show. So big thank you from myself and Shaun for going on this trip with us. And as you can tell, we can still really excited by this film. I can't wait to see it again. I don't know when that's going to be. I know my wife wants to see it, so I'm going to try and find time to watch it with her.
Nice.
And also, if we don't talk to you before then, a big good luck to Shaun with the pending arrival of his new son and the new pending replacement for yourself on this podcast in 15 years' time.
Well, I've got Mika already. I'm sure she could do a better job than I could.
Yeah, well, this is true. Maybe I'll get one of my sons and kind of like what The Force Awakens did with Infinity War, we'll hand over to our kids.
That would actually be fantastic.
And they can talk movies for the next 10 years.
No, their podcast would just be a therapy podcast where they talk about all the ways that their parents screwed them up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd listen to it.
The kids were left alone while their dads recorded shit podcasts. So.
Exactly. Get out of the room, kid.
Leave me alone. I'm entertaining the internet.
I don't love you. I'm really entertaining myself, yeah.
Yes.
That's not true. If you're listening to this, Mika, I do love you.
All right. That wraps up this week's episode of Another Movie Podcast. I am Shaun Pierce.
And I am Shaun Kelly.
Your week be a good week until next week.
Oh, I forgot to hit record. No, just joking.
Sometimes that's not a joke because I've actually done that twice to you. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. A long time ago, before we were profesh.
Yes, exactly. We're a well-oiled machine.
Well, I do oil myself up before every show.